Republican liar George Santos has been arrested. This is Undiluted News. Mikey Bones reporting. A 13-count indictment was unsealed yesterday in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of New York, charging George Santos, a United States Republican congressman representing the 3rd District of New York, with 7 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of money laundering, 1 count of theft of public funds, and 2 counts of making materially false statements to the House of Representatives. Santos was arrested yesterday morning. The indictment seeks to hold Santos accountable for various alleged fraudulent schemes and brazen misrepresentations. Taken together, the allegations in the indictment charge Santos with relying on repeated dishonesty and deception to ascend to the halls of Congress and enrich himself. He also used political contributions to line his pockets, unlawfully applied for unemployment benefits that should have gone to New Yorkers who had lost their job due to the pandemic, and lied to the House of Representatives. And this brother is really a crook. While he is working, he applied for unemployment and got it. And this is the type of people who make up the Republican Party. The body of a man found in Mexico recently has been positively identified as that being of a Jamaican. Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith said that the government has been in contact with the family and Mexican authorities. Senator Johnson-Smith said the man was reported missing in Central American country. Senator Smith said efforts are now being made to have the man's body brought to Jamaica. Smith was at pains to warn people against engaging in the act of illegal border crossings. Meanwhile, in Mandeville, thieves are kicking up a rumpus. Residents of Dunrobin and Balvenie Heights in Mandeville, Manchester, are fearful following reports of breaking and entering at homes of women and the sexual assault of a woman in the area last week. According to residents, over the last 3 weeks, armed men have been preying on vulnerable women in the communities. One robbery victim said she was robbed of her cell phone, cash, and other items by 2 men who broke into her house last week. The woman said, "I thought that with the grill I was safe. Them cut the grill and they come in so fast. They take out the meter. So to me, it doesn't matter what house you are in, you are still not safe. And the hours they're coming in is when the neighborhood is dead. No sound. They come in the hours when people are deep in their sleep, and this is the time that they are attacking," she lamented. And according to the latest crime statistics, Manchester has recorded 29 robberies and 53 break-ins since the start of the year. A student of Abernathy Gallimore High School in St. Anne is in police custody facing charges arising from the stabbing of a 14-year-old at the institution on Tuesday. The injured student suffered a collapsed lungs and is hospitalized in serious condition. And it's reported that about 11:30 a.m., the 2 students were involved in a dispute when the 14-year-old was stabbed in the chest. The St. Andrew Central Police are now searching for gunmen who opened fire on mourners at a funeral service along Maxfield Avenue yesterday morning. A 40-year-old man was injured in the attack and has been hospitalized. Investigators said about 10 o'clock, mourners had gathered at a funeral service at a church at 76 Maxfield Avenue when armed men on a motorcycle drove up and opened fire at one of the mourners, causing havoc. And this is totally ridiculous. People at a church, at a funeral service, and gunmen shooting up that area. The body of a cattle farmer was found with bullet wounds in Carato Hill in Clarendon on Tuesday afternoon. He's 62-year-old Joseph Peters of the same address, and it's reported that sometime after 6 a.m. Mr. Peters left his house to feed his animals. Other farmers discovered his body along a road about 2 p.m. A man was shot and killed by members of a beryllium security team in the vicinity of the Scotiabank automated teller machine in Morant Bay in St. Thomas yesterday afternoon. He's 36-year-old Kamik Bloomfield, otherwise called Choo Choo. The police said about 2:30 p.m., a security team employed to Beryllium was servicing an ATM along West Street in Morant Bay when a member of the team was approached by Bromfield, who was armed with what appeared to be a handgun. The guard opened fire, hitting Mr. Bloomfield in the upper body. The police were alerted and he was transported to the Princess Margaret Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. It was later discovered that what Mr. Bromfield had been armed with was an imitation firearm, so it wasn't a real gun he was having. They're also now saying that he was mentally unstable. There was more bloodshed in Montego Bay, St. James yesterday. 2 men were fatally shot in Adelphi about 9 a.m. And it's reported that the men were standing in their community when 2 men on a motorcycle drove up and opened fire on them. The wounded men were later pronounced dead at hospital. And this is the second double murder recorded in St. James in 2 days. Investigators are trying to determine whether Wednesday morning's attack is connected to an early shooting in which a 13-year-old female student was shot on her way to school in the same Adelphi area. The student was appealing on a motorcycle about 7 o'clock when another motorcycle with two armed men drove up and opened fire on the driver. The child was shot in the shoulder and the driver was able to escape that shooting. Gunmen stuck in Hanover on Tuesday, leaving a taxi operator dead and one of his passengers hospitalized in serious condition. The attack was carried out about 8 in the morning. Investigators said 40-year-old Marlon McIntosh was operating his taxi along the main road in Old Green Island when two men on a motorcycle drove up and opened fire on the vehicle. Mr. McIntosh and a female passenger were shot. The other passenger escaped unhurt. Mr. McIntosh and the 48-year-old woman was rushed to hospital where he was pronounced dead and the woman admitted. Onto sports, Miami Heat got beaten last night and the Knicks survived to play at least one more game. Mark you, the Knicks played good, but they got help by the referee, who it seemed was making sure that they collect at least another payday. And it was awful. The foul call started from the first minute and continued throughout the entire game. Every Heat player had at least 3 fouls. And even though the Knicks had multiple free throws from those fouls, the Heat stood solid, and when there was only like 4 minutes to go, it was still close, with the Knicks only 103 to Miami 98. Then Butler scored 2 points and it was 103 to 100. But from there, it was more fouls by Miami, and the rest of the time, it was the Knicks who ran away with the win, winning 112 to 103. Miami lead 3-2 in the series and should wrap up the next game if the refs do an unbiased game. And if you ever miss the news on this radio station, please go to YouTube, type in Jamaican Undiluted News, listen, like, share, and subscribe to keep it going. My name is Mikey Bones. Have a wonderful day. I gone.